Blink 3 of 7.
Imagine you're on your way to a big job interview. What are you thinking about? Instead of fearing the worst, picture yourself excelling in the interview, answering the questions perfectly, and connecting with your interviewers. Does that sound unrealistic? We're so used to imagining bad outcomes that positive visualizations can feel naive. But they're no less realistic than imagining the interview will be a disaster. And practicing positive thinking is proven to improve performance. In a study about weight loss, for instance, researchers discovered that women who believed they'd be able to lose weight were more likely to do so.
The key message here is, cultivating a positive mindset is essential to achieving your goals.
The best kind of positive thinking is accompanied by a sense of personal responsibility. In the weight loss experiment, women who said they thought losing weight would take a lot of effort lost an average of 24 pounds more than those who believed it would be easy. Realistic optimists don't leave good results to fate. They know they have to put in the work and believe in their resilience and ability to get things done. Positive thinking may not come naturally to you, but thankfully it's possible to cultivate and practice an optimistic mindset until it becomes second nature. A great place to start is by practicing gratitude. You may be in a stressful job or up to your eyeballs in domestic drudgery, but if you look hard enough, you can always find something to be grateful for. Practice gratitude for the very small things in your life, like a glass of clean water or a friendly conversation with a colleague. Next, you need to start reprogramming how you think about yourself and your life. Take a quiet moment to listen to what your internal monologue says about you. Chances are, it's a very critical voice, saying things like, "I always make mistakes," or "I'll never succeed." This voice is very powerful, but you can change the conversation by practicing meditation techniques and repeating positive affirmations. When you meditate, you start to become aware of what's going on in your mind. Meditating also reduces stress and gives you the mental space to question your thinking. Once you've begun meditating, you can begin saying positive affirmations to yourself, like, "I am confident and worthy." This might feel unnatural at first, but persevere. You'll slowly change the way you think about yourself.
Blink 4 of 7.
You want to get to work on time, you really do. And you don't understand why you're always late. After all, you always leave yourself 20 minutes for the drive, which is exactly the right amount of time, if you don't have too many red traffic lights. Many of us are time optimists, which is a nice way of saying that we're not realistic about how long things actually take. Time optimists will plan to do several loads of laundry and cook a 3-course meal after work while supervising the children's homework. Or they take on too much commitment at work, thinking, "Surely I'll fit it in somewhere." The problem with being over-optimistic about time? It always leaves you stressed and overwhelmed when you're confronted with reality. And that's why the second secret is so important.
The key message here is, the second secret to effective time investment is to set realistic expectations about how much you can do.
Time optimism often comes from an insidious perfectionism. We're so driven to do everything and do it right that we overload our plates. But ironically, perfectionism can make us less productive. We focus on small things and lose sight of the bigger picture. Or we become so overwhelmed that we feel paralyzed. To set realistic goals, let go of your perfectionism and accept yourself as you are, not as you wish you were. Find it hard to get up in the morning? Then you're not the type to go for a 5 a.m. run and make smoothies for breakfast. Adjust your expectations and make your morning as easy as possible by preparing your clothes and packing your lunch the night before. Becoming realistic buys you freedom. It's much more relaxing to live within your means. And when you become aware of how little time you have, you'll make better choices about what to prioritize. Of course, sometimes unrealistic expectations come from outside. Perhaps your boss gives you 60 hours of work to squeeze into a 40-hour week. Or your friends expect you to always be available. In these cases, you'll need to practice saying no and managing other people's expectations. For example, you could have a meeting with your boss and let her know that you can't get everything done in time, so you'll be prioritizing the most urgent tasks. Or practice letting your phone go to voicemail and calling your friends back when it suits you.
Blink 5 of 7.
Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg is one of the busiest women on the planet. And yet, she leaves the office every day at 5:30 p.m. and is home in time for dinner with the kids at 6. Family time is important for Sandberg, so she made it an action-based priority. And then she reinforced the action with the help of a simple, clear routine. Routines are the lifeblood of good time planning. They can make you feel less overwhelmed because they limit the number of choices you need to make every day, leaving you with a mental space to concentrate on more important things.
The key message here is, the third secret to effective time investment is to strengthen simple routines.
Routines aren't only useful for workaholics who want to work less. They're also essential for people who need to increase their productivity. For example, freelancers often have trouble sitting down to work because their days don't have a lot of inbuilt structure. The author once helped a famous writer who just couldn't get down to work on her next book. The stakes were high as she felt under pressure to match the standard of her previous work. She'd also been recently diagnosed with ADHD, which she realized made it harder to focus on just one project. With the author's help, she created a simple writing routine where she got up and sat down to work almost immediately with a cup of coffee. Suddenly, she was making steady and consistent progress on her project, even though she only worked a couple of hours every morning. What's more, she was free to dedicate herself to other pursuits for the rest of the day, peaceful in the knowledge that her important work was done. It's possible that for you, routines come with a lot of negative associations. Perhaps you remember being forced into tiresome routines in childhood and feel the need to rebel. Routines can seem to kill spontaneity and even stifle your creativity. But in fact, the opposite is true. If you develop a routine in which you know that you're meeting your important commitments, then you can enjoy the rest of your time guilt-free and do the things you love the most. But how do you actually implement a routine? You'll find out in the next blink.
Blink 6 of 7.
By now, you've hopefully been convinced about the usefulness of routines. But implementing your own routine may still sound like a daunting task. To help you on your way, here's a detailed overview of the 4 steps you need to take to create effective routines in your life. The first step is to work out what to do. Remember that list of priorities? Pick one that you'd like to focus on and work out how to turn it into one specific action. For example, if health is a priority for you, you might decide to go for a 20-minute run every morning.
The key message here is, you can create your own effective routines by following 4 easy steps.
Now that you've chosen your action, it's time for the second step. Carefully visualizing your new routine and anticipating any possible barriers. For example, you should realistically assess how long the activity will take and whether you actually have time to fit it into your life. You should also anticipate what might go wrong. Thinking about our running example again, ask yourself, what happens if it's raining? You may not feel like going for a run, so come up with an alternative activity for rainy days. Once you've thought through these barriers, you can start visualizing how to implement the routine itself. If you're doing a morning run, plan ahead. Set out your exercise clothes the night before and make sure you get to bed at a reasonable hour. It can also be helpful to define the very first action you'll need to take in the morning, like rolling out of bed and putting on your shoes. Now you're ready for step 3, putting it into practice. Remember that your routine may feel strange or unnatural at first. You may find yourself wanting to rebel or putting up mental blocks. No matter, keep going, as messily or imperfectly as necessary. The fourth and final step is reviewing